You, the mighty flicker.
Okay. Alright, we have true and false to do beforehand. So you can do it with a partner, you can do it by yourself.
Yeah.
Like that.
Are you guys gonna, oh, so you want, I've got some markers, because I brought extras, just in case.
Yeah.
Cool. For you today. Someone be your partner. Okay.
I really have no idea.
They've granted you permission to work in groups.
Yes.
Yes. Seize the moment.
Ooh, you can see
Put those in my box for me. Yeah, I don't know who it was, but I'm really excited about it.
Okay, the neon ones that you tried to use are the
That's so sad.
Yeah. I can't
I was so sad about it, and then these ones magically appeared, and now I'm glad.
Because I was like, okay, I don't understand why it's not.
You guys gonna go out there?
Wait,
let me see.
you?
Huh?
I got true. No.
Were you the person that?
I didn't know that. For the true.
I don't know if I'm right. Except for the first one?
Yeah, it's okay.
I thought the medication caused the tremor. That's what I thought, I'm not sure.
I'm ready. True.
Let's try this out.
I know there's not.
Oh, sleep. Yes, everything.
I'm gonna say this. Thank you. Here.
This is so exciting. Oh, shit. I know you were sure.
We decided that was true, right? I put that it was true.
I think, do you guys think
They
it
probably know
affects-
better than us.
Do you guys think it affects the sun gland?
That's what I said. I said true.
I'm not positive about that one. That's a guessing one.
Perfect. My grandfather asked for it.
Yeah, you want to write something on the board?
Yes.
Have at it. The only one that I have is the medical diagnosis.
Well, I don't understand. Like that means you have to go to the doctor. You can't just walk around and say I have Parkinson's.
The two blue ones are wrong. Okay.
Oh.
Same treatment, not to the same for everyone. They have to-
Okay, that one. Isn't that kind of gray? I think that's good. Because if you have different symptoms, you're gonna have a different treatment.
I've had all kinds of true too.
I am. I don't like to be wrong, first off. Second off. I said false. I don't know how many stages there are. And they use the word only, so I was like, that's usually on a true or false. But I don't know. But usually when they say only,
that's a
good one. Yeah.
Okay, they're trying to trick you.
Let me question. So those two need to go over there.
Oh, that's great. You can see her from my bed.
I've had a nap last week for this
I
class.
was thinking in Anderson.
I should tell her that.
I literally just got
But they haven't used it. Like I have it
That's what I used to do, I sit here.
I thought you were condemning me. I was like,
Yeah, those two rules are wrong.
Okay,
But we left
she
that.
like that.
I don't
Okay,
know.
may I mark out?
That's what I got.
Oh wait, there's a eraser.
Yeah,
This thing. That's probably gonna make my hands.
One finger. Your mom was so funny. She's like, she knows all these stuff.
Yeah. You're missing number 2.
Number 2.
Alright, that's
Is it
Wow.
true or false?
Most of them go over there.
How many stages?
You're so nice, right? Look.
She's putting it on the false side.
That's
One
why.
doesn't start, doesn't
We gotta look at the essay.
You guys tell me.
Most of the majority of these are false.
Oh, wow, yeah, I think so. Should you take
Yeah,
it?
thanks for that.
Look at this one. Look at this one. This one has the bonus. Can I see it? Oh, no, maybe it doesn't. Where's the red one? Hey, can we see it? Oh, it does. Oh, you see it? Isn't it cool? This one you can really see.
Yeah, please don't. Really good.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. That's all right. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I got them all
Lizzie.
wrong.
Oh!
Your shirt is awesome. So cute.
Why don't you read
Yeah, sure.
So one, the trimmers, that one's true. There's actually 5 stages of PD. Obviously there's not a cure for PD. The same treatment does not work for everyone. So that one's true. It only affects movement, that one's false. It does affect sleep. You can only get PD if you're 50 and over, that one's false. It does require medical diagnosis. There's not a vaccine for PD. And the PD affects only the CNS and not the VNS. It can be genetic, and medications take care of all physical symptoms, and that is false.
All right, so what is Parkinson's disease? Parkinson's disease is a neurodegenerative disorder that affects the dopamine-producing neurons in the brain. This leads to less dopamine being entered into different parts of the brain. The disease normally affects the part of the brain called the substantia nigra, which is basically a basal ganglia structure located in the midbrain that plays an important role in both reward and in movement. Parkinson's disease affects about 1 million people in the United States, about 10 million people worldwide. There's only about 10 to 15% of all cases of Parkinson's disease are thought to be genetic, and the other 85 to 90% of the cases are classified as sporadic, which means they got it from basically unknown means. So some of the symptoms is, the first thing is that the symptoms differ from person to person. No two people have the same symptoms and the same intensity of symptoms at the same time. So some symptoms include tremors, slowness in movement, limb rigidity, and balance problems. Some more symptoms are what they classify as non-movement symptoms, which include things like apathy, depression, constipation, sleep disorders, loss of sense of smell, and cognitive impairment. So a lot of times Parkinson's disease will seem like maybe dementia to some people until it is fully diagnosed. So there are 5 stages of Parkinson's disease. Like I said, each person with Parkinson's disease is different, and each person's experience won't be the same. The first stage is normally has mild symptoms and doesn't interfere with daily activities too much. People usually have tremors on one side of their body, and sometimes you can notice changes in their posture, walking, and facial expressions. Stage 2, tremors become more apparent, and walking problems and posture become also more apparent. Living alone is still possible at this point, but daily tasks become more difficult and take more time to complete. Stage 3 is the loss of balance and slowness in movement. Those are big hallmarks to this stage. Now, falls are more prone to happen at this stage, so living alone is still possible, but can be very difficult because things like dressing and eating become very difficult to do and can be dangerous. So stage 4 are symptoms are becoming more severe, but standing can still be done alone, but walking may require a walker at this point. The person cannot live alone at this point because they need help with their daily tasks in life. And finally, stage 5 is they have a lot of rigidity in their legs, and that tends to leave the person either bedridden or wheelchair bound. So people at this point sometimes experience delusions and hallucinations, and around-the-clock nurses is normally required for any activity. This also may lead to people having to live in the house with the person, whether it be a family member or, like I said, live-in nurses, to help them with daily tasks, getting up, moving, getting dressed, going to the bathroom. And they might also be experiencing more non-motor symptoms, like I said earlier, with depression, apathy, loss of cognition, stuff like that.
There is a thing, YOPD, which is young onset Parkinson's disease. This is the one that occurs in people younger than 50. There are some where they were diagnosed between the ages of 38 to 40. And this affects about 10% of the 1 million people affected with it. These symptoms are similar to the late onset stage of PD. And this one, it's important to seek treatment from a movement disorder specialist or a neurologist that specializes in this.
So the quality of life for people with Parkinson's disease is while Parkinson's is not fatal, it can still be life-threatening with issues related to Parkinson's disease. People with Parkinson's disease eventually need help getting around, going places in their homes, and when they leave the house, they'll need someone there to help them. They'll need help with daily tasks, dressing, cleaning, eating, cooking. Like I said, this will lead to someone being by their side at all times. Well, it might be live-in nurses, or it might be older people, or people who live in the house. My grandmother actually had Parkinson's disease, and that led to my grandfather having to be by her side almost 24/7, or if he wasn't there and he had to go out to do something, it was usually her daughters who were there to watch her. Because if they're left alone, they might have a fall, they won't be able to change themselves or cook or eat. And some treatments that I found for Parkinson's disease is, like I said, it's not a one-size-fits-all. Since each person is different, each person's treatment will need to be different. There is no cure for Parkinson's disease yet, but some therapies are there to help. One current therapy that is used a lot is a dopamine replacement strategy. It has the person taking what I found levodopa, which is a drug that releases more dopamine into the brain, into the affected areas. On some of the studies I read, I was able to read multiple studies on this. They were contrasting different medications with it, and this one, the levodopa, was the one that had the least side effects and that seemed to help people the most, about 28% more than some of the other drugs that are on the market today. Another really interesting one that I found is called gamma knife surgery, which is basically they send direct streams of gamma radiation into the part of the brain that can't release the dopamine. But this can lead to severe complications because, like we know, the brain is so complex that if you mess with one part of the brain, it can end up affecting people. In some case studies that they've seen, have seen people becoming numb, losing feeling to their extremities, and even being paralyzed because of damage to their brain. One notable person with Parkinson's is actually Michael J. Fox, and we have a video because he started a nonprofit for Parkinson's research.
What did you know about Parkinson's?
Somebody's grandmother had it. It was not a thing that I noticed about, but it really entered my world. I was a 29-year-old guy.
Did the doctor know who you were?
Yeah, and in fact, that's one of the few times in my life I felt like saying, you know who I am? This is ridiculous. You can't tell me that. This was a case when I just thought, it's preposterous that this is happening to me.
His slurred speech, muscle stiffness, and tremors are the signature symptoms of the disease.
He said that you have 10 years left to work. They're working on some things, there's some things in the pipeline, and
He leavened it with a little bit of,
Yeah, a little bit of hope. But it wasn't enough for me. It was, I felt very shocked by it.
things like degenerative,
Yeah, progressive.
no cure.
Yeah, no cure. All stuff that now is just like irrelevant to me. I'm not about measuring how long something will last or how I can I do this and how long. It's pointless. It's just another thing you face and you carry on.
But there was a long private struggle before he went public.
I took 7 years between when I was diagnosed and when I went public with it. So I took a long, selfish period of time when I just dealt with how it affected me and I was concerned with me and I said on me.
Lady and gentlemen would step forward. We will.
Finally revealing his diagnosis in 1998
Mr. Fox, we're going to start with you.
and testifying before Congress.
As I began to understand what research might promise for the future, I became hopeful that I would not face the terrible suffering so many with Parkinson's endure. But I was shocked and frustrated to learn the amount of funding for Parkinson's research is so meager.
In 2000, he went all in. Fox formed a team to raise money targeted toward research that would lead to improved treatments to slow, stop, or reverse the progression of the disease. And someday, find a cure.
I like that poster. We don't just fund research, we fund results.
Yeah, well, that's the idea.
To date, the Michael J. Fox Foundation has raised more than $800 million from private donations.
Well, that's pushing $1
Yeah,
billion.
not a billion. Yeah.
Pushing $1 billion. And it's based on, predicated really on your impatience.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as happy-go-lucky as I seem to be and as at ease, as with this as I seem to be, I mean, it sucks. I hate it, and I wish I wasn't in this situation, but it's been one of the great gifts of my life that I've been in the position to take my view of the substitute of it and merge it with other people's view of the substitute of it and try to find an answer.
Yeah, I mean, you've heard this 1,000 times, but it couldn't have happened to a better person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting used to that idea.
So as you guys can see, everyone's seen Back to the Future, or at least most people have. The difference between him then and him now is crazy, and this is what millions of people go through in their lifetime.
So this is your typical appearance of PD, the stooped posture, the masked facial expression, not the forward tilt, the rigidity, flexed elbows and rest, and reduced arm swinging. And then the next slide has like the hips and knees slightly flexed, tremors throughout the body, and the short shuffling steps is what we're most common to see. Length of illness, this can last for up to 20 years or longer. And to see how far the illness or the disease has progressed, a lot of doctors are using a rating scale called a Hoehn and Yahr scale, staging of Parkinson's. And like stage 1 would be mild signs and symptoms on one side only, not disabling but friends notice. Stage 2 or symptoms are bilateral, minimal disability, posture, and gait affected. Stage 3 is the significant slowing dysfunction that is moderately severe. Stage 4, severe symptoms, walking, limited, rigidity, bradykinesia, unable to live alone, and 5 would be in the cadet, complete invalidism, unable to stand, walk, and require nursing care. So stage 5 would be the wheelchair bound. And knowing whenever these stages are going to come are unpredictable. So someone might be at a different stage than someone else. So you never know when the next stage is going to happen. A therapy I saw was music therapy, and this study showed that between the music therapy pre-test and post-test, there was a significant improvement in the Wilcox test they other participants took. Their emotional state was assessed before and after, and it was the difference between the physical therapy and music therapy, and it said that music therapy helped a little bit better than just the physical therapy. Then ways to improve lifestyle. I don't know if you've guys seen this, but like the Smart Spoon, this helps with tremors. So the handle is used to help stabilize the spoon when you're eating. So we'll video.
For people suffering from Parkinson's disease, a disorder of the central nervous system, simply eating a meal can be an ordeal. The most common symptoms of the disease are related to movement. The basic act of getting food from plate to mouth can be difficult and frustrating. But now there might be a solution. Lift Labs, based in San Francisco, California, has developed a small device that tracks and compensates for small vibrations and tremors. Anupam Pathak, the founder and CEO, explains that the technology behind Liftware is similar to the image stabilization feature in high-end cameras. He spoke to VOA via Skype.
So what we've done is taken that same concept and applied it to a handheld device that would help people with a lot larger injuries. So somebody with a neurological disorder might be moving, up to an inch in magnitude. There's a little computer inside that's running an algorithm that would basically sense the person's motion, determine whether that was intentional or unintended, and if it's unintended, move opposite to what that motion does.
The result is that the device remains smooth and level despite the movement of the user's arm or hand. Food that would normally fly off remains on the spoon.
That just makes all the difference. I'm telling you.
Being able to see somebody eat, on their own for the first time, or even just eat better, has made it's a hugely impactful thing.
The device costs $295, but Lift Labs also accepts donations to help those who cannot afford to buy one.
We just have a donate button for whatever amount people would like. And what we're doing is we're collecting those so once we get enough for a device, we'll actually send it out to the International Tremor Foundation or any one of the other, Parkinson's foundations. And they have a list of people that might be coming from economic hardship and wouldn't be able to get a device like this.
A spoon is currently the only attachment for the Liftware device, but Pathak promises that more attachments, like a deeper soup spoon and a fork, will be available soon. Brian Allen, VOA News.
What do you guys think would be some of the biopsychosocial parts of this?
For my grandpa right now, he's in the later stages. At the beginning, it was fine, but now he's starting to feel like he's a hassle to my grandma. Well, she says he's a hassle, so that makes it worse. She lets him know it, but that's definitely part of the psycho and social part of it.
They want to really be able to have dinner with friends.
Traveling is also really important. My grandpa just broke his face on the, those things you just step on and they make you go faster. Again, grandma should have got him a person to take him, but they were on that and he fell because he couldn't keep his balance by stepping onto it. It was just too big of a step.
Yeah, and these are just a handful. So the dining experiences, going out with others, and then becoming dependent on others could also affect that. I had a friend of mine who said that her grandma could barely talk because she was shaking so much. Daily activities, as we talked about, and of course the financial problems are always a part of it.
Can you go back one more slide?
Yeah, sure.
What questions do we have?
What, is it just the substantial Niagara, I think that's how I say it, I'm not sure. Is that the deterioration of that, is that exactly what causes the tremors, or is there a link in between those two things that causes the tremors?
So what I was saying is, in most cases, that is the part of the brain that has the degeneration of dopamine-releasing cells. I didn't see much about anything else, but the dopamine, there being a lack of dopamine affects that part of the brain too. So like it hurts movement, so the synapses aren't as connected.
I don't know if you guys mentioned this, but is this disease genetic? Like,
Only about 10 to 15% of cases are genetic. They're not exactly sure where the rest come from yet.
and did you guys read anything about Did you guys read anything on babies being born with this disease, or is this kind of something that?
So I didn't look into babies being born with it, but I didn't see anything in my research about any babies being born with it. Like some people do get it younger, like their 20s or so, but it does not seem like babies have been born with it. But I'm not 100% sure.
Are there any risk factors that you could avoid to help prevent getting Parkinson's disease?
I was not able to find any to help stop it just because it is a brain disorder, but with the medication and treatment, it has been shown that it can help slow down and limit different symptoms from Parkinson's disease.
Lindsay, in the music article, were they comparing, what kind of physical therapy were they comparing to? Did they, I don't know if they came up, did they compare it to the LVST big program in that article?
No, I don't think so. I think it's just like some physical therapy.
In your opinion, why do you think the music therapy helped more? Or like, did they say like any theories why they think it helped more?
In my opinion, since their emotional state was kind of assessed before and after the therapy or the task they were doing, I think they just felt more kind of like accepted. So they just felt like they could do it, whether they're just not.
Are there any other devices like the spoon or something that could help them live like daily lives or help their daily tasks?
I have not recently seen anything new in the spoon, but I know when my grandmother had Parkinson's, they did something to her wheelchair where like it was like a joystick that controlled the movement of it that kind of sensed the tremors, so it wouldn't be like jostling the whole time, it would just be like consistent. So I know that's one thing that they make daily living with. There's also like things you can put in your house that help the person be able to move around a little more easily. Like I know she had a railing system on her bed where she would be able to, it would help her like get up so my grandfather could help her get into her wheelchair and change. But I don't know of any newer like electronic devices like that. Do you?
No, the really only one, like the main one would be the spoon. That's about the only one I kind of saw.
Oh, there's also life alert bracelets are a huge help. Those I know, we were always worried when my grandmother would be home alone for any period of time, or even if like my grandfather had to walk away from her for a second to like go to the bathroom or something. There was she always wore a life alert bracelet so it detected if she fell, so it would alert him, her daughters, and then my other grandmother's ex-wife because she lives in town too. So someone will be able to get there and help her as soon as possible. And then they were able to decide if like nobody could get there, they could call emergency services, or if it was bad enough, they were able to call emergency services from there.
So it actually detected the fall. She didn't have to press anything?
Yes.
Oh, that's cool.
It also had a thing in case like she got stuck or something happened. She was able to press it, but it was a newer one, so like it would detect a fall. And then it was also remotely powered. So like if a power outage went out, she was still able to use it, even if like the phone lines were connected, because some of the older ones were connected to the phone lines. It was wireless and it was charged remotely. So they would still be able to detect a fault if, say, the power went out or the phone lines were damaged in some way.
Is anyone ever like diagnosed without like outwardly like symptoms, or is there any way to diagnose it without like the symptoms itself presented?
So from the research I saw, most of the diagnoses were from the symptoms, but I assume there would be some way of being able to tell if someone like had Parkinson's or was able likely to have Parkinson's from brain scans, but I'm not 100% sure on that research.
Thank you. All right, so next, let's get back in your groups, your support groups for your behavior change. Make sure if I've commented something on your latest, make sure I talk to you. Some of you got like a what, or explain this to me, I don't understand. And so I'll be coming around, checking in. One thing I want you to be doing is thinking about how you're going to, what is your overall figure going to look like. So you have a figure that you'll be presenting, and then you're going to have your raw data. So a lot of you have been submitting your raw data. So if you're to sketch this out, just come up with the board. If you need a visual, sketch it out on a piece of paper. If you're thinking of what is your paper going to look like when you have that figure that shows something, how are you going to take all the turkey sandwiches you ate, or all the naps, or all the yogas, or all the scores, how are you going to show that? That's something that you can be working on right now too. So okay, get your groups, and I've got a few of you I know I need to talk to. Oh yes, give me those. Turn in up here at the